of matter. I want to break down something that perhaps other astrologers are not paying as much emphasis to, and that makes it a more rich for community type of content. So I make also astrology, not just revolution in the world and interception of World War III. This is Mercury Day, so let's pay some reverence to Hermes and Mercury and call on the qualities of trustworthiness, being informed of trickery, child curiosity. Mercury is now at its home in Gemini. And this is a lunar hour, and Moon is actually conjuncting Jupiter. So for the Moon, right now that is decreasing, is good for calling on Selene for protection, for courage, and for decreasing of that which is undesirable, the effect of that which is undesirable in a life, or what is undesirable in life, to decrease that. So this decreased type of communication that is, not benefic, or type of magic that is not serving of growth or serving of the highest good, you cannot decrease that in the world. The ascendant is ruled by Venus, with Venus still conjuncting the Sun, very prolonged conjunction that's still on and will accompany us tomorrow, I believe, as well. And the midheaven is ruled by the Moon, 21 degrees Cancer. So I'm going to kind of already call on Procyon, which is appropriate, which is to sweeten the message. And here we would need to sweeten the message for the topic of this episode. And the call on Spica, which is to be eloquent, but also to be rich in justice. Okay. Now, for the topic of this episode, Lilith is conjuncting a planet called Alkaid, a fixed star called Alkaid. And so this is the star of the Big Bear, associated with the Seven Sisters, that make, yes, the Big Bear. The Big Bear is usually a constellation that has been used since antiquity, because when you're out and about in the night, then you see the Big Bear and the Small Bear, and you know to navigate yourself towards it. She's the ruler of the Northeast, where it's unadvisable to shoot at or to point, whether it's finger of blame at or it's a literal gun towards. The Big Bear constellation is just so much bearing history. She's so present that it's the basic thing that any culture used for everything. So the minute we began to look in the sky, this was the psychopomp. Okay, if you talk about Mercury, just ruler of both the underworld but the above world, ruler of protection, ruler of grieving, associated with mass death is Alkaid. And for Alkaid is really about being of service, but also have the temptations for when you are gaining authority in a position where you serve people. Okay? And this is a great planet to turn to for protection from assassination, and a great planet to turn to the Great Bear with Alkaid, to mingle with the crowd when you travel. And this can actually assist you with spying as well. But again, with Alkaid, there is a great necessity that you will use things in favor of humanity, and that you will use your understanding in favor of humanity, because you're going to understand the people who plan mass death. You might be associated with planning mass death, what we call democide today. Okay, not talking necessarily about mass shooters, It's like 20 people. It's like usually don't kill 100 with a mass shooting unless it's planned by the government. But it can occur. So when we have a planet, a planet or point that is alkaid, we're basically bringing up the theme both of protection from assassination, protection from harm, protection if you're traveling, both from thieves, because those can be legal as well, particularly when you travel, when you're in a new place where you escape or just travel, okay? Then you can mingle with the crowd, you can understand, you be observant of what's going on around you and what are the habits. So you are like a local. You're blending in like a local. On a more psychological or deep level, it can genuinely make you a part of society on a very visceral level. You feel a part of society. And since you feel a part of society and you're perceived as included, there really is no reason to point the gun at you, okay, in that sense. It's also unlucky, okay? People that have um, planets natally in that location may experience the various themes of alkaid and need to work magically with alkaid, but with other planets that can assist them, okay, like Procyon, like Sirius, like Spica, like Alpaca, which is assisting magically to resist temptation, because they will be of service, and so they will feel belonging and make people feel belonging. People will turn to them. Whenever we have a planet crossing there, now this planet is going through these themes. So these are grieving something, these are themes to do where mass death is involving this particular planet. This is where temptations can arise around what topic temptations can arise for people who are, okay, of service because they consolidate with grief. It's why would somebody commit a democide? Okay, why would somebody want to kill everybody? Okay, and so every planet will have their own reason. If you put, let's say, a Jupiter there, then perhaps because they didn't feel belonging in terms of their religion and worldview and belief, or as a child, or their teachings, okay, or world philosophy. Or a sense of optimism was not received in society where all is grieving, and then they could turn to the other side, they could turn over and want to persecute people to make them feel the same. Because there's tremendous grief to be processed, so work with. And so now we have Black Moon Lilith crossing alkaid. So what is Black Moon Lilith grieving when she reaches this place in the Big Bear? And now we need a story for Black Moon Lilith, because she was the first wife of Adam, and she decided she's not going to be subservient, okay? And for Lilith, she only could feel belonging or a part of a relationship or a love or an intimacy or sexuality when she would comply with being something that she's not. And so she couldn't deal with this situation, and she ran away or was casted away. Okay, whichever the way, she was disincluded. And that grieving of not having perhaps a place in society where she's also included in having healthy relationships, sexuality that she also enjoys, having her own gut feeling respected, having her say about what's going on. And she's not a domineering, baby hunting or whatnot. It's just a woman that wanted an equal relationship in a society that was built upon a creation story where this couldn't be, okay? And right now we had, in the past few years, we had a great chance for many people, hidden and not hidden, to do birthing magic around the Tema Mundi birthing chart. And this comes along, okay, when I purchased Sphere in Sundries, but I can see a lot working. You see the symbolism is a lot working, and this is why they made troubles for Caitlin when she was doing that. But the birthing story, it comes with Genesis, and the magician that works with this, they basically create a story of Genesis. You can use the story that came with a talisman, or you can create a story of Genesis, and basically a story of creation. And I want us to think, because Lilith was the first wife of Adam, about the stories of creation that the different, whether denominations or cultures, or that affect our sexual life, our intimate life, and the mass grieving about what archetypes are missing for us in our society. And for Black Moon Lilith in Virgo, that has to do with Virgo themes. So Virgo themes are to be of service. Virgo themes are also the pharmaceutical, the medical. Okay, Lilith would have her own gut feeling as to how to heal herself. I need this herb, I need that herb, or I need this surgery, I need that surgery. Oh no, this diagnosis, it's that one. Okay, even if she does go and is technology oriented, so whether it's herbs or magic or technology, she would need to have a say and the autonomy around how is she being treated. And so, and it's also media, cameras, her story in her words. And when it comes to alkaid, we are basically grieving that. But this is also the story for Lilith is a story of lack of inclusivity. And so while Lilith can be re-included, okay, if Lilith, we work with Lilith alkaid in that way, Lilith can be re-included in society. She can blend in with society and suddenly have a say, have that relationship that she didn't find with Adam. That is the best, okay? And in that point, she might be in a situation where she's of service or she's consolidating grief, and need to be aware of like the temptation where this role puts her. Okay, so a lot of people reaching out, wanting this, wanting that, offering, maybe trying to bribe, and so on. And for Lilith, that is one way to be. And this is the best, okay, but we need to integrate. Okay, conjunction is a hard aspect, okay, we need to integrate and to blend these energies, okay, the energies of being not included because you are yourself, and the energies of blending into the crowd and being observant and not having, okay, not being assassinated because nobody thinks of you as different, okay? This is not energy that easily blend. It would be amazing when they do, okay? When you just like when you're Lilith and you just belong and nobody's even thinking to assassinate you or to cast you away or to rob you or to, okay? That would be the best if we could have this. We can set intention on this magically. But I also want to address what could be happening in the mundane world, okay? And this is not, as I saw one of my colleagues' videos, somebody, okay, a colleague gave a very accurate description of what Venus conjunct in the Sun in Gemini on the Venus point is going to be for the rest 4 years. And somebody, perhaps after hearing all the Venus Kazemi videos, and Venus is Kazemi, and Venus is Kazemi, and Venus is Kazemi, and Venus is Kazemi, somebody's like, oh, you have poverty consciousness that you say all these things. I wouldn't want you to teach me or to read for me. Okay, when we talk about the mundane interpretation, We talk about the things that can arise with this combination. If we don't understand what can arise with this combination, we don't even think to intercept it. Okay? And for some people, it won't affect them. But what about people that have placements in those places? Yes? If you have around the cardinal, around the mutable axis, okay? The mutable axis, that might trigger you because Lilith, okay? And that's pretty fucking important. So on a mundane level, we can ask ourselves, why would Lilith want to commit democide? Obviously, because everybody's cool with this type of relations, but she's a baby hunter, she's a witch, she's a bad person, she's enough with this Abrahamic religion, kill them all. That's the Lilith story. It's kind of like when you make of someone the devil, they become it. Okay? And so, for Lilith, all the issues of where a person cannot have their own gut intuition, their own gut feeling, as per their own body, as per their own sexuality, has to say yes, no, maybe, as they see fit. Okay, I really like this when Tom Jacobs talks about saying yes, no, and maybe as we see fit, which is the sexual energy. Okay, very Lilith. He works with true Lilith, but okay. When people don't have this, yes, this is harming. This is harm. This is where society is being harmful to itself. And that is where we can see various displays of that. Lilith added the story where she's disincluded, okay? Where everybody's cool with human trafficking suddenly, and having sex with a woman is gay unless you have children, okay? Lilith can, I don't know, she would want to kill them all. Because if everybody agrees that this is okay and she should not have life, she should not have her say, she should not have the ability to be a woman, and only when they think about Lilith is only a witch, a this, a that, yes, of course, it's like, oh, enough of that. Enough of that. But this is also another theme where Lilith grieves what she doesn't have in this society. Grieves the lack of healthy relations due to some guy, got heartbroken by a woman, then he made an entire pyramid around this, and they got the money, so everybody believes what they believe. This person never gets the chance to heal from his own grief, and the entire society is now having women that cannot be women, and therefore men that cannot be men, and therefore queers that cannot be queers unless they are prescribed like a number. I was shown like a number for when the Shoah was, they would put numbers on the hands of people. Okay? So it's like you're like a part of the industrial society, a number on the hand. You have to have a number on the hand. Okay? So those themes are very powerful. The powerful because of alkaid, and the powerful because of Lilith. And now that we know that those themes can arise, it's important for us to understand that the Lilith that has not been included, she would sometimes dislike the society that enabled the crime rather than the offender directly. Because the offender is one person, but the society that enabled them. Okay? Or if the people significant, or the people that were the alkaid figures. If you have an alkaid figure, so that could be you, that could be someone you know, Okay, for me, I have a descendant, so that could be a partner. So the wound here is that for these women, these lilith figures, they felt disincluded by the people who make everybody feel included. That's a very terrible wound. Okay, I'm not saying anyone is to blame. Okay, I'm not saying anyone is to blame. Because the structures to these things. Okay, there's mafia for the government, there's mafia for the Inquisition, which basically still is cutting the dividends for all the economy that we still do. And therefore, for these women, they were not included by the person that made everybody feel included. Okay, then that is the wound. And with Lilith now in alkaid, we have a chance to address this wound, to make for these women to feel included. The Lilith in our society is for them to be able to be feeling belonging in society. This is the opportunity, okay? The opportunity is yes to address that, is yes to understand that what we think of Lilith, or what we think of certain figures which Lilith rules in society, is nothing but victim blaming. It's nothing but some abusive man way back in Genesis got heartbroken because a woman wouldn't tolerate this abuse. Did he change himself and grow? No, he has his journey to heal, but we don't have to follow him like it's the Torah. We can change our perception and to change our society. Otherwise, yes, there are land invasions, there are democides, there are the numbers on the head, all of these things. All of these things, because we've marginalized people and we have allowed them to be like the black sheep of the society. To all our anger, this is witch, this is Jezebel spirit, this is Satan, this is that, okay? With all the garbage of society, we threw at these marginalized people. With Lilith, it's about she wanting to have equal relation, she wanting to have a say, she wanting to have, if she's expressing herself, or she's writing a book, or she's having a blog, or she's an author, okay, this is Virgo themes, then she wants to be included. Doesn't have to be a part of a patriarch trans person, which can also be all queer, okay? They don't have to marry Catholic marriage to WHO to have an identity. Or be disincluded even from the LGBTQ society that supports trans people. And I added that supports trans people because not all LGBTQ support all LGBTQ. It's a big mess, marginalized of marginalized. Trade, for people were disincluded in the ability to exchange goods. What happens when a woman leaves, or a man leaves, unhealthy relations? Okay, they suffer financial violence. Everywhere they want to rent an apartment, if they come as a solo person, okay, in your age, while you're not married, while you're not kids, or what with the kids, or they try to separate the kids, and so on, and they have to rent alone. Apartment for usually people live as family. And they cannot register of where they live, okay? So immediately the financial violence that is, they've been disincluded from the trade, disincluded from the economy. What would these people do? Wouldn't eventually, if they suffer, and people don't do anything about this and don't allow them to just be, yeah, then is where the alkaid of the planning a mass death, this is where that touches. Now, very much like what Mars is right now doing with Aries, and Aries also has been not included because she didn't have the decorum. She was, yes, perhaps she was also behaving in a way that was sometimes provoking or, okay, but she was not included in society. And it's not like she was told, hey, please, well, this thing you do, that thing you do is something that, you know, kind of like unnerves people. But she was just not included in society and was removed from the vicinity to the plate. And then she created the Trojan War. So you can see how alkaid, Lilith, can have a similarity to this Mars, this conjuncting Aries at the end of Aries. Okay, it's different themes, different things. Something else is going on there. Okay, but both can be quite lethal, and they process tremendous grief. Okay, there can be loss of Lilith people. That already takes us to Sedna, because Sedna was a girl just like Lilith, and she did not want to marry as a child, and she did not want to marry anybody that was brought to her, because she wanted to be a free woman. And then came a man who, one of the version is the father sold her to a man. Another version is came a man from another tribe and said, I will give you the freedom that you want, but he did not yield. That even when she went outside of her tribe, she didn't get the freedom she wanted, and the society could not accommodate for her. And her father, upon trying to save her, going to save her, was attacked by the ravens, okay, of the birdman that he sold her or that she went with, and then he cut off her fingers. Then she drowned into the ocean. Her hair became the ocean life, and you had to appease Sedna in order to get food. Sedna was not appeased. Now, what better way to appease Sedna than to stop the infanticide and to accommodate for single people, for people who want to be free, for to make sure that the person is free, also in a relationship, that they have autonomy. Not all people fit for all types of relationships. Okay, so Lilith, the story of the wife that then ran away from Eden because she wouldn't want to be subservient to him, has this mythical connection when we adjoin her with alkaid, but she was disincluded because of that, or attempting to appease or to include her. That is reminding of a Sedna story. Okay, the Inuit, very ancient tribal society, Abrahamic religions, a bit more modern. But the themes, as we can see, it's not the same exact story, the same figure, the same goddess, but the themes are coming around. And so I think with this Lilith story, what is very, very important to remember is that this included on the basis of wanting to say it's not maybe according to her sexuality, would hate the society that enabled this more so than even the offender. Because the offender is one person is very likely have been hurt, have been heartbroken, have been even tortured. But for the society to enable that, when not take a stand against this person, is society. This is, and if there are powerful people in society, which could be represented by this alkaid placement where you have in your chart, then those people may have somehow disincluded Lilith, or right now are in a position where they can re-include Lilith. Okay, so she would be more angry at the powerful person that defended her offender than at the offender. If we get that kind of logic, there would be a place, a deeper understanding of themes that will unfold this week. Okay? We must remember that we always need to give place for people to speak, for people to heal, for this Lilith in archetype, okay, to be. Otherwise, with alkaid, the harms of alkaid, okay, the mass death, the mass grieving, the democide, and so on, is those things that are not intercepted because the Lilith person ran away from violence or was casted out, and she dealt with violence. So she knows more about how to identify. And so if we don't listen to her and we don't include her in society, this is an entire archetype that we pushed away out of our people's ability. Okay, and you think about it, the Judaism came first, and you think about how the Jews are persecuted and how they treat Lilith. She's not even in the Bible. What if including Lilith not as a demon that kills children, but as an equal partner that did not get a chance with Adam, but to rendition that maybe that would change the story of the Abrahamic religions for the Jews, for the Islam, for the Christians. More so than to comply with the Inquisition. This kills in everybody and creating a lot of anti-Semitism because the Jews do the accountants. Okay? And got dividends to the church, which means the Vatican, which means Inquisition is not the Pope. Pope is like puppet. Okay? It's like a president. It's a representative that is for the public eye, but it's not the entire. Yes, it's not the Inquisition. It's not. But for us, it's the face of something. So we must also keep in mind the structure that we're dealing with, not one person. Okay, and this one person, they do what they're told to do. There's not much. Otherwise, and I already explained how do they develop trust, right? Something to do with children. And so when we just think about this, okay, just think about this. What if Abrahamic religions stopped treating Lilith as a child-snatching demon, succubus, I don't know what, and for 1 second included for the fact that woman is also entitled to say yes, no, and maybe, and have equality in relationship? Would all Abrahamic religions stop being persecuted? Or be less persecuted than they are today? Ooh, who knows? Who knows? So yes, I'm not saying it's the only thing, there are more things, but this one good thing, and stopping infanticides, child bride. Yeah, who knows? Okay. So as you can see, this is very powerful, and now this story came for the religious story, supported by the moon conjunct in Jupiter and Gemini, just separating from Sedna, just separating from the trine to Pluto, reforming religion from the Inuit, reforming spirituality on how we practice, how we appease Sedna, but also just bringing into our awareness that humanity can't get away with saying that was in the Bible. The Bible says so. Humanity can't get away with it. That's what the chief says. This is what the queen says. This is what, I don't know, was elders and elders and elders say. No, humanity can't get away with that. We're going to have Neptune, Saturn in Aries. It's going to be a huge reality check for how we form our identity. Okay? We're going to have to surrender a lot of things. But there's also an understanding of society, if it's not inclusive of the planets that are going through, whether it's alkaid or Sedna or Aries, then it needs to adapt, it needs to change. And it's all of us have a human role in this. For example, we may have been also not inclusive of others, okay, of which we can tend to in their own way. The heartache with Lilith and alkaid is that alkaid is so fucking inclusive. And because it was this person that made the lilith person feel not included, that is what hurts the most. Where you make everybody feel included, but I'm the hoe, I'm the one that asked for this, I'm the one that doesn't want it, that is too picky, that is snobby. No, because they don't like to be sexually assaulted, okay? And that is where the pain is so tremendous. And sometimes, because we know the structure of the code, there's a whole lot of code structure that needs to change. So to accommodate for this, it does need to happen. Otherwise, we do have the masters, the Mossad, and so on, and the big things that are not intercepted. Okay, with alkaid, you can intercept a world war. Associated with number 7. Yes, for the 7 sisters, ruling the northeast is not good to shoot where alkaid is. So right now, Lilith, if she's in life threat, to turn to the big bear, to turn to alkaid is good. And also it's very unlucky to attempt to shoot at her or to point finger of blame at her. Very, very unlucky. Okay? And I said it before, on the day before, Julian Assange got the right to appeal. And I know that there are things where it always says Pluto there, it must be inclusive in other terms, but not but, and I said for United States it's just going to a Pluto return when the sentence for extradition of Assange was Pluto alkaid, destrining the Pluto return for the United States. So United States, if it doesn't deal with that in a way that is respectable to everybody concerned, it's going to be a big bad 7th generation ahead cycle. And then, fortunately, Assange got the right to appeal, but then they changed the prime minister, and I think they need to do something around this alkaid and see also, right now with Lilith, is a good chance to see were there any people that were compromised around this, were any people compromised as a result of structure and so on, because their grief can be tremendous because, hey, this person made people feel so included. So what the whistleblowers that wanted to talk maybe about women's issues, or okay, that can be something that whenever a planet reaches this Pluto, it is transformed. But now, this is just one example of how alkaid can be so important. There's this one man that threatens the security of the United States by simply telling the truth. How has this happened structurally? Okay, but for to be released, also we need to understand what needs to be transformed around these alkaid themes there. And that is pretty much what I have to say around this topic. I expect that the scandals, if there are scandals that are going to show up in this week, especially around the Venus, I'm going to say his Venus Casimir. It's like, oh, it's so happy. No, it is Venus hitting another Venus point, and to discuss themes to do with Mercury, with children, with social war, which, yes, I didn't get to finish still the whole video by Victor, but all these themes that he mentions there. And what we need to see that's going to come up this week is what is going to come up this week, what's going to come up this year, but what's going to come up this week. If there are scandals that are exposed, they have a timestamp of 8 years that they're going to, or they had a timestamp of previous 8 years, and now it's like a closure, and or in numbers of 8, okay, and those type of scandals will include people that were very inclusive, that were of service to society, that were salt of the earth. Okay. And they can be around those little figures that felt not included by the person who makes everybody feel belonging. Or themes that where we as society have not been inclusive of those little figures, and either there's grieving of them, okay, so something happens to little figures, which unfortunately can also be, but on the magical level, they can turn to alkaid for protection from assassination or being included, and mingling, okay, with the crowd, also financially being included, and so on, trade, whether it's media, all of these things to have their say, and be able to kind of get away with that in the sense of like be alive, and unharmed. So Lilith may find the words to express her grief right now, both with Venus Kazimi in Gemini and with what she's been going through in general with alkaid. She may find the words to speak, whether it's of her grief or for to be included or for to give a chance for society. And a deep exhaustion is coming with deep grief, deep anger, rage. Okay, the no that was not heard is coming up right now, but please brace yourself. This many people that have been part of this, they have been on the part of either side of performing or attempting to intercept the democide. Okay? Lilith is also opposing Neptune. As it happens, she's applying to oppose Neptune, which is, well, we all have to surrender for what will be. Okay? Perhaps she's surrendering in the sense that she found the words to speak and she's speaking. As she's speaking about the democides. Okay, all those types of democides that were inclusive of the seven, okay, yes, for the seven, for the north, shooting to the northeast, yes, the big bear, the wormwood, which is also associated, mugwort, also associated with alkaid, attempts to use of the seven sisters to make people ill, okay, ritual sacrifice, around ailment, around this, okay, all of this, the hidden elements, which is Neptune is given hidden elements, the misdiagnosed, okay, we have to kind of surrender. For sometimes we're going to be whistleblowers, and with the position to Neptune, you have to kind of surrender things. There can be the theme of ideation. Oh, finally there is salvation around this, and then big devaluation around these things. And yes, we have to remember, why is this Lilith pissed off? Because she's been disincluded where she expected to be blending into society, or also be tended to, and also, be able to escape predators. Whereas the powerful, the alkaid figures in society, they are of service to people, okay, maybe because of some temptations that mix them in some place, in some situations, they could not offer her the same protection, and she hates them more than even the perpetrator. But it could also be the perpetrator with alkaid, yes? And so Virgos are professions of authors, of people of the word in general, of teachers, but more applied science, of healers, of shamans, even astrologers, by the way, generals, because the plan in mass death, yes, pharmaceuticals, doctors, okay, it's those type of people. Yeah, can also journalist be, because it's a Mercury profession. Heuristic, I think, is more Libra, But with Mars, Aries, that can come from their heuristics and military and stuff like that, and poison. Um, so what is important to remember? What I said in the beginning, in being inclusive of those Lilith types that are not the married woman, that are not Chava, okay, they're not Eve or Yvette, okay? When I was working with alkaid, Lilith was applying too, was driving public transportation, and had a nice conversation with people that were coming from North Africa, okay, and they liked it when I said as part of my family, the ones from North Africa and not from like Eastern, which is weird because Israel is like Eastern to North Africa. And the woman was called Yvette. And then she said, it's like, it's Eve. I was like, oh, Yvette is Eve. I had no idea. And so, for basically, I was a bit of this little character, you know, this half Dutch, half Israeli, not really religious. So, okay, single person, 40 years old, not really blending in with society, having a really civil conversation with Yvette and another man. I don't remember the name of the man. In a public transportation, okay, I'm talking about the different cultures, what this word in this language, that word. It was really nice. And so that is something that working with alkaid can do to you. Okay, because Lilith, what was Lilith? She was the woman that would be replaced by Eve. And who is with the complying woman? They're always underneath her husband, okay? Always underneath him, all the stereotypes and so on. And that was Lilith and Yvette having a lovely conversation and not threatening to, yes, for the man in the conversation. So that was one piece of magic. And I didn't do much, okay? I didn't do talisman, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, okay? For another time, for I worked with alkaid Lilith, I was talking about the kidnapped people, live in Israel, okay, the kidnapped people, and I asked, where are your savings saving in? Where are the investments of your investments invested? Okay, and that was one heck of a message being put right next to the picture, for we know where they are, is in the torturing of these people. Okay, and I was in a really pissed mode. X shadow banning got on my nerves. It was not for the blame of anyone there. It's just that it's the situation got on my nerves. I said I'm going to start writing on the actual walls, including for the things that they did, yes, before that. And that was yes, a very interesting experience for when alkaid we used to say, to include the messages around trade. They're like, hey, where are your investments of your investment? What are people not included in the economy? And look what those investments that should have gone to, okay, maybe these little figures, to accommodation, okay, it didn't accommodate. But there was one, but there was two people in maybe in a village. Now the hundreds. Now you tend to this. And still try to use the solutions of the demociders that created this. Okay? So this is both Mars, Aries. Mars is real estate, investments, and entrepreneurship, but it's also Lilith, kind of reminded the provocateur and going with the gut feeling and asking to be included in society where when it comes to financial violence, to be free from financial violence, for trade, for her voice to be heard, yes, and so on and so forth. Okay, for the why doesn't anybody scream that scream, but you know, you have the same people that very likely planned what happened 7th of October put in nice And, you know, I'm sorry, like Hitler, nice, oh, here are the kidnapped people, here are the this, here are the that. Yes, but don't really do anything for the people. Yes, God got pissed at that. Lilith is not silent about it. Lilith is not Lilith will not be silenced. Okay, Lilith will not be silenced, and it's very, and I remind you now, it's very unlucky to shoot at the northwest, at the northeast. So where Lilith is very unlucky to shoot at. If you mess with Lilith, okay, what happened when the United States imprisoned Assange outside of United States? It's going to invoke the second on United States from the entire globe by American law. They can mess with it as much as they want. This is what the law. Okay? Not very good, not very good idea. So where Lilith at, not advisable to shoot. So you don't want to mess with Lilith now. Just like you don't want to mess, let's say, a woman grieving her sons that she lost, whether it's at the war or whatnot. Yes, you're not going to put finger, so you're not going to come and talk to her now and to shoot at her, blame and so on. It's not the time to mess with her. Okay? So it's not advisable to shoot at the northeast. And so for Lilith, this is how you get this protection, right? If somebody tries to mess with you, they will have very big problems for doing that. Okay? And so, and then you ask, what if it is in the 7th house? Is it my partner? Is it my enemy? Is it my this? Is it my that? Yes, it can sometimes mean that for your partner, yes, it's not advisable to like put them in certain situation and so on and so forth. And it's true. It can mean, yes, it's my partner. But also 7th house is more like our alter ego. Okay? So it's not only your partner. It basically means that for both of you it's advisable not to start shooting at each other. Yes, not to start shooting at each other, but yes, to address the grief and to be fair with each other. Okay? And they must be fair with you as well, because otherwise they get karma. But you also must be fair. If you want to speak, you need to let them to have the right to speak. If you can't hear them because you need to protect yourself, but for them to have the right to speak and not to silence them and not for them to silence you. Equity, yes? You really need to be fair with each other because you're going through a lot of grief together. That's what it means, unfortunately. Okay, you're consolidating a lot of grief. They're going through a lot of grief, and it's really more than they can contain. This is why they can behave the way that they behave. And you must be fair, okay? You must do your best to be fair with this, but not also to overstep yourself, okay? But they must be fair with you. If they are putting you through torture, okay, then they understand that you must do return to sender. Because you can't alchemize this much energy, right? You must do return to sender. So you have right to protect yourself. Yes, it doesn't mean that's not, oh, it's unlucky to shoot at them. It also means that within the partnership, it's unlucky for you to shoot at each other. Okay, it's just not good for you. It's not lucky. But if well consolidated, that can be created for relationships where you both have the depth of understanding for when, if you have conflict, you want to have a fair solution. If it's connected with outer planets, you might change society together, depending on other aspects. So this is only where it's like, yes. Same if it's the 12th house. Okay? Israel, for example, when we talk about Spica, has Virgo 12th house, if we take the Libra ascendant. Yes? It's unlucky for the WHO to mess up with Israel. Unlucky. It's unlucky. It's also unlucky for the Israel to be mingling with the WHO. Very unlucky. It's unlucky for Israel to do human experiments. Okay, of course, the kidnapped children is the problem because of this Mercury tent is going to give it from another point of view. But whatever is from the medical, is involved the medical, also the welfare. So yes, also kidnapping children for the Mercury is very unlucky for Israel. And they did that. Okay, so this is where Israel can undermine the WHO. But it has to work and understand that this is the 12th house, but it's very unlucky to mess with the medicine in Israel. This is why whole world is getting karma. Whole world is getting karma for this was allowed. Okay? Why? Because it's a global organization. Yes? But also Israel getting tremendous karma. For why? For people in Israel, for the not believing, the people who are in mental hospitals, not being inclusive, not hearing the stories, allowing to believe that this is imagination. Okay, I refer to the imagination podcast. Allowing to believe this is imagination. Yes, this is very unlucky. Very unlucky. Then you had whole villages that hear comments from Gaza during and after 7th of October. Not lucky to shoot to the northeast. Not lucky to fumble with the medicine, with the mental health of people. It's the most unlucky thing. Why Hitler killed himself? Because he had Dr. Mengele. If that was the medicine that was in the kingdom, he understood very well that he must undo himself because this is the medicine. Okay, Stalin did not have doctors. He killed all the doctors. Yes, I don't know what Schwab is doing, but if now this Israeli doctor for the WHO, it's very likely that he will not have such good medicine. And we have stories in Israel where psychiatrists were hospitalized and they had to put them in like a separate room, almost like a Belmarsh cell, because for the people that were treated by them, for them to not revenge for the way that they were treated. Not all psychiatrists, of course, but you understand. Very unlucky. So, unlucky to shoot to the northeast. Now it's more, I think, unless it's 12th house for you or something like that, this per se is not given like psychiatry, but it is given for the medical system, to be allowed to do the herbal medicine, astrology, journalism, and to have the Lilith voice there. So those things are relevant. Okay, the opposition to Neptune can give us a bifurcation. Okay, we might idealize Lilith. She's going to save us from the rest of the world, and then she said, no, she had the affair here, she had the this, she had the that, or maybe she had a scandal herself, and that was very painful because she made other people feel this included, and has to consolidate for that. Okay, to correct for that. And then there is a phase of like devaluation. Other thing that can create a certain fog around Lilith themes. Okay, which again, you're walking in a fog in regards to who is the Lilith in society, what is Lilith, okay, what's going on there, are they really of service, what is this, what is that, then perhaps when it comes to use of drugs, use of alcohol, there could be misunderstandings, there could be if anybody has tendency to addictions, okay, drugs, okay, especially if people need to be cautious of the karma for when they use drugs to have sex with a person. And I don't just mean when they put particularly a drug so a person doesn't know what's going on with them. I mean even things that are just not so SSC, and people don't pay attention to that. Of when you have any mind-altering substance together, even in the beginning consensually, is not a good election to do this week, because Lilith is opposing Neptune, and the fog can create for situations that are quite horrid, that people might regret, that they don't see. And so it's not necessarily that something intended, although that can happen, but also you want to be cautious, okay? You want to pay extra attention to being safe, sane, and consensual when it comes to like your bedroom affairs, which is also Lilith. And then there are the things that we just surrender to deeper cycle, because Neptune, it is hundreds of years. Neptune is at the end of Pisces, but it's going to be kind of like a whole Lilith cycle around Neptune, or a Neptune cycle around Lilith, which is kind of like big. So again, if it's not in the book, don't put it in there, okay? And this is already, and for those who are like incarnation folks, an across lifetime theme. So again, be cautious. If it's not in the book, don't put it in there. Turn to alkaid magically. Yes, for what you need. Neptune is also like the dream state. It's just the fact that this is an opposition that makes it annoying. If it was a sextile, if it was a trine, then that actually sometimes you might actually, that would be the other. Yes, I'm not here to give you advice on things that could risk your SSC. But for if it was sextile, if it was trine, you might suddenly be able to heal because you took some substance together, because of this, because of that. But now with your position, in general, Virgo and Pisces ascendant, you just don't get to enjoy psychedelics in the bedroom until yes, and then it goes to your to Virgo's 8th house. So, and Pisces second. If Pisces has not been neglectful enough with having their money in a non-liquid state, then the mass planet of liquidity is coming along. Says a Pisces ascendant. So all in all, turn to alkaid, okay? Just a little step goes a long way. As I said, I didn't even make talisman, I didn't consecrate anything. I was just like turning to alkaid, paying attention for when they send it, when they meet, having a process of alkaid. And then suddenly I speak, with a person named Yvette. and, okay? And we have a very lovely conversation, and nobody feels threatening to her. He doesn't think I'm a demon that is coming to snatch her children or something like that. So that can be one of the nice synchronicities you have when you do tend to the planets. So a little step goes a long way. And if the planet is in good condition, then I hope this is useful. So I think we are well into the Saturn hour. Yes, Saturn Pisces, still 18th degree, still emphasizing hard on all these like medical drugs, execution themes. So yes, tomorrow is the new moon. Tomorrow's the new moon in Gemini. I saw when I was still on X, like people saying, "Oh, so many things are going to get launched on this new moon." I don't have an opinion. With Gemini, I think this is the one where you decide between two projects. This is the decan, or the phase where you decide between two. So that might be the topic. So you might start two projects and then you decide between them. But if you are competing for someone, then your project, okay, could be the one being cut. So that is like only thing that I have to say about this. And it carries the Venus timestamp, because like, hey, it's Venus Cazimi. It's Venus Cazimi, meaning that we are in a Venus point. That's going to have at least 4 years and practically 8 years effect. And so, yes, if it's a big decision, it's going to carry an 8 years timestamp. And that is, yes, the Kazimi is kind of like, yeah, it's a new beginning. But it's also, when Venus leaves the Kazimi, she's just combust. Okay? So we want to pay attention to where you might begin something and then Venus goes combust. And then you want to wait it out, because it may be something good for you, but it's not immediately showing what you want to see. That is what I think. And also the element of Gemini is mutable, so it's an element of refinement rather than an element of it's not, it's not a cardinal sign, and it's a strong Gemini vibes. So it has its pros and cons. I wouldn't say that to be accurate with information is something that you can rely on with this new moon. Yeah, that's what I have to say about this.